Revealing Jesus, releasing destinies. This is Celebration TV. Revealing Jesus, releasing destinies. This is Celebration TV. Revealing Jesus, releasing destinies. This is Celebration TV.
Welcome to News Desk on Celebration TV. I am Comfort James.
And I'm Femi Mark.
And the news making the rounds.
Please stay with us as we bring you details. Watch robust, objective, analytical, informative, educative, entertaining and inspiring news on Celebration TV News Desk. Every weekday, 11 a.m. GMT plus 1. That is 11 a.m. GMT plus 1 on Mondays through Fridays.
You are welcome to Sports Corner. I am Ivan Agafe.
Celebration TV News Desk. The whole truth.
Welcome to Celebration Television News Desk. I am Belly Squetta. Thanks for joining us today. And now on the news making the rounds, restructure UN Security Council, says Oyedepo. Algeria's government, protesters mobilize ahead of constitutional referendum. Presidential debate, Trump and Biden row over COVID, climate and racism. Dangote demands a total ban on tomato importation. And FIFA ranking, Eagles drop 3 places, now 32nd. The details of that news comes after this short timeout. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now the news in details. Restructure UN Security Council, says Oyedepo. The Chancellor, Covenant University, Ogun State, Dr. David Oyedepo, has called for the restructuring of the United Nations Security Council in line with the reality of contemporary international relations. Speaking on Thursday at the virtual conference organized by Covenant University and United Nations Information Center to mark the United Nations at 75, Oyedepo in a keynote address said UN was due for reforms. Oyedepo said the UN is due for reforms. For this to happen and to achieve other goals, the UN would have to make the following internal reforms: restructure the UN Security Council in line with the reality of contemporary international relations, position herself for the inevitable challenges of the 21st century international diplomacy, where digitizing is fast outpacing shuttles diplomacy, and where power is becoming redefined and diffuse. And the United Nations must become more politicalized in her administrative operations and deliberately create a culture of inclusiveness in policy process and implementation, so that member states can regard themselves as equal partners. The United Nations must become more democratized in her structure, giving more room to the rising powers and emerging economies, especially for the global south, to exercise their influence in leadership. The international community has the responsibility to strengthen existing multilateral institutions, of which the United Nations is the best model to meet these inevitable challenges. And also, Oyedepo urges the United Nations to always stand against superpowers when their actions endanger the very essence of human existence. And from another story, federal government and ASU disagree on payment platform for 30 billion naira allowances. The meeting between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities deadlocked again on Wednesday following the disagreement over the payment platform that will be used in disbursing the salary arrears and the 30 billion naira earned allowances of the university lecturers. The federal government team, led by the Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, had offered to pay the salary arrears and the 30 billion naira earned allowances of the university lecturers through the integrated payroll and personnel information system platform pending the rollout of ASU's preferred platform, the University Transparency and Accountability Solution. But the ASU delegation, led by its national president, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi, reportedly insisted that the university teachers will not enroll on the government salary platform. The spokesman, the Ministry of Labor and Employment, Mr. Charles Akpan, explained that the meeting adjourned till Monday to enable the union leaders to get across to the members on the mode of payment. The party is expected to reconvene on Monday to decide on the platform for the disbursement of the funds pledged by the federal government. Amongst other things, the government had agreed to pay a sum of 40 billion naira, being the pending earned academic allowance of the university teachers overdue since November 2019. And out of the amount, 30 billion naira would be paid on or before November 6th, while the remaining 10 billion naira would be spread equally over two tranches to be paid in May 2021 and February 2022. And on other stories, INEC postpones Lagos, Imo, Bayelsa and other by-elections. Following the ongoing NSAS nationwide protest, the Independent National Electoral Commission has announced the indefinite postponement of the by-elections in the 6 senatorial districts and 9 state constituencies. The Commission said it will continue to monitor the situation and meet again in 2 weeks to decide on a feasible date for the elections. And the by-elections are to take place in Bayelsa Central Senatorial District, Bayelsa West Senatorial District, Ngazai and Bayo constituencies in Borno State, Cross River North Senatorial District, and Obudu constituency in Cross River. And others are Imo North Senatorial District, Lagos East Senatorial District, Kosofe 2 constituency in Lagos State, Plateau South Senatorial District, Bakura constituency in Zamfara, and Ibaji constituency in Kogi State. The by-elections in the federal and state legislative houses were due to resignation or deaths of members in the 8 states of the Federation. And the INEC National Commissioner and Chairman of its Information and Voters Education Committee, Festus Okoye, announced the postponement in a statement after a meeting held with 37 resident electoral commissioners yesterday in Abuja. And Okoye said the commission has decided to postpone the by-elections in the 6 senatorial districts and 9 state constituencies. This decision is in compliance with Section 26, Subsection 2 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, which gives the Commission the power to postpone an election if there is reason to believe that a serious breach of peace is likely to occur if the election is proceeded with on that date, or that it is impossible to conduct the election as a result of natural disaster or other emergencies. And the Commission will continue to monitor the situation in all the states and constituencies and consult with relevant stakeholders and meet again in 2 weeks to review the situation and decide on a feasible date for the election. Now moving out of Nigeria, coming from around Africa, Algeria's government protesters mobilized ahead of a constitutional referendum. And Algerians are being urged to vote yes to a new constitution in a November 1st referendum the government has touted as a foundation for a new state. President Abdelmadjed Tebboune has been the new constitution will usher in greater freedom and democracy. But opinions are divided. Algeria's protest movement, which forced veteran ruler Abdelaziz Bouteflika out of power, has called for a boycott of the vote and rejects the authority of Tebboune. The new constitution would give the Prime Minister and Parliament more powers to govern the North African country of 45 million people, a draft released earlier this year showed. And Africa's protest movement has opposed the vote, calling for an overhaul of the country's political system. And the country's constitution has been amended several times since independence from France. During the 20-year Bouteflika era, it had been drafted to suit the ex-ruler's needs. Other critics of the draft constitution says it maintains a powerful presidency and military while undermining the judiciary and parliament as watchdog institutions. And still from around Africa, fear of ethno-political conflicts in Ivory Coast Western region. 10 years on from the country's deadly post-election violence, the situation in the Ivory Coast is the world's largest producer of cocoa. A bulk of its cocoa production comes from its west region. Indeed, the land is at the center of tensions. The indigenous Gueres accuse the foreigners of extending their plantations beyond the limits of the land they have rented or sold to them. And on the other side, the foreign farmers accuse the Gueres of wanting to take back the land they have legally bought and leased from them. And this region was one of the hot spots of the 2010-2011 crisis, born of the refusal of former President Laurent Gbagbo to acknowledge his electoral defeat at the hands of current President Alassane Ouattara. The main political actors of 2010 are still at the forefront this time. Alassane Ouattara and former President Henri Konan Bédié, now the leader of the opposition, are candidates, while the candidacies of Laurent Gbagbo and former leader of the rebellion against them, Guillaume Soro, Ouattara's former ally and now opponent, have been invalidated. And Ouattara is now running for a controversial third term. Conflicts are permanent, but the electoral campaign has ignited passions, even if it means rigging their necks at the reality of the situation. And for the many of the inhabitants in Ivory Coast who reside in the cities of the region, their hopes are for a peaceful ending this time around. All right, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we get news updates from the United States of America. Stay with us.
Welcome to News Desk on Celebration TV. I am Comfort James.
And I'm Femi Mark.
And the news making the rounds.
Please stay with us as we bring you details. Watch robust, objective, analytical, informative, educative, entertaining and inspiring news on Celebration TV News Desk. Every weekday, 11 a.m. GMT plus 1. That is 11 a.m. GMT plus 1 on Mondays through Fridays.
You are welcome to Sports Corner. I am Ivan Agafe.
Celebration TV News Desk. The whole truth. The time has come for the gathering of sons to get recharged and revitalized.
The church that cannot be despised is a church of testimonies.
An outburst of revival.
Shagada. There's a revival! Let's take it.
International Ministers Conference, October edition.
Testimonies are the trademark of God's mandate.
Apostle Johnson and Dr. Lizzie Suleiman, 28th through 30th October 2020. Ministers without blemish. Time 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. GMT plus 1. Happening live at the International Worship Center, Omega Fire Ministries, kilometer 132 Benin Okene Abuja Expressway, Auchi, Edo State, Nigeria. For inquiries, please call Ministers without blemish. Prepare for your next level. The wait is over. You can now connect to Celebration TV's official website, www.mycelebrationtv.com. Specially designed for your satisfaction, you get to access a lineup of inclusive contents and programs of Celebration TV. Get the latest updates and news stories from our news desk. Be kept abreast on infos about all outreaches and events of the Resurrection Apostle Johnson and Dr. Lizzie Suleiman. Watch Celebration TV on the go via our 24/7 live streaming service. With all these and more, we make your partnership with us as we take the gospel around the world way easier with just a click. Hurry now. Visit www.mycelebrationtv.com. Time has come for the gathering of sons to get recharged and revitalized.
The church that cannot be despised is a church of testimonies.
An outburst of revival.
There's a revival!
Let's take it.
International Ministers Conference October edition.
Testimonies are the trademark of God's mandate.
Apostle Johnson and Dr. Lizzie Suleiman, 28th through 30th October 2020. Ministers without blemish. Time 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. GMT+1. Happening live at the International Worship Center, Omega Fire Ministries, Kilometer 132, Benin Okene Abuja Expressway, Auchi, Edo State, Nigeria. For inquiries, please call
Welcome to News Desk on Celebration TV. I am Comfort James.
And I'm Femi Mark.
And the news making the rounds.
Please stay with us as we bring you details. Watch robust, objective, analytical, informative, educative, entertaining and inspiring news on Celebration TV News Desk. Every weekday, 11 a.m. GMT+1. That is 11 a.m. GMT+1 on Mondays through Fridays.
You are welcome to Sports Corner. I am Ivan Agafe.
Celebration TV News Desk. The whole truth.
Welcome back. Now news updates from the United States of America, where presidential debate, Trump and Biden roll over COVID, climate and racism. U.S. President Donald Trump and his White House challenger Joe Biden clashed over COVID and race while trading corruption charges in their final live TV debate. On the pandemic, Mr. Biden would not rule out more lockdowns, while Mr. Trump insisted it was time to reopen the United States. Mr. Trump cited unsubstantiated claims Mr. Biden personally profited of his son's business dealings, and the Democrats brought up Mr. Trump's opaque taxes. Mr. Biden has a solid lead with 11 days to go until the presidential election. But winning the most votes does not always win the election, and the margin is narrower in a handful of states that could decide the race either way. More than 47 million people have already cast their ballots in a voting surge driven by the pandemic. This is already more than voted before polling day in the 2016 election. There are about 230 million eligible voters in total. And more updates from Asia. coronavirus, North Korea warning over yellow dust coming from China. North Korea has warned its citizens to stay indoors over fears that a yellow dust which blows in from China could bring coronavirus with it. And the streets of the capital, Pyongyang, were reported to be virtually empty on Thursday following the warning. And the secretive state claims to be coronavirus free, but has been on high alert since January with strict border closure and restrictions on movement. And there is no known link between the seasonal dust clouds and COVID-19. However, they are not the only country to suggest a link. This information team notes Turkmenistan also alleged virus-laden dust was the reason citizens were being told to wear masks, and they have denied trying to cover up an outbreak. And moving away from that, on to business news right now. The Dangote demands total ban on tomato importation. The managing director, Dangote Tomato Processing Plant in Kadawa, Kano State, Abdul Karim Kaita, has called on the federal government to put a total ban on the importation of tomato paste in the country. And he made the call while flagging off the distribution of tomato seedlings to 5,000 farmers under the Anchor Borrower program of the Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday at Kadawa village in Kura local government area. He said the call was necessary to boost local production of the commodity and ensure that Nigeria was self-sufficient in tomato production. And according to him, the ban on the importation of tomato paste will lead to the establishment of more tomato producing plants, thereby creating job opportunities for many people in the country. And he lamented that the importation of tomato paste was still thriving as the commodity was being imported from Cameroon and Cotonou in Benin Republic. And according to him, the company had on several occasions visited the custom headquarters and met the Controller General with a view to lodging complaints over the issue, but nothing was done to check the ugly trend. And he also added that it is only by putting a total ban on tomato importation that the government can encourage farmers to grow the commodity for the country to be self-sufficient. And still from business news, Nigeria's duty-free export to U.S. shrinks to $300.48 million. Nigeria's export to the United States under a duty-free policy declined in the first 8 months of 2020, recording $300.48 million from January to August. And according to the latest African Growth and Opportunity Act policy trade statistics, exports to the U.S. under the duty-free policy fell by 88% from $2,502.86 million in the first 8 months of 2019 to $300.48 million in the corresponding period in 2020. And the AGOA, a United States trade policy enacted in the year 2000, is a legislation that facilitates a duty-free trade between exporters from the sub-Saharan Africa and the United States. Annual trade data showed the largest contribution towards the AGOA eligible trade commodities is usually oil exports, mainly from Angola and Nigeria, and to a lesser extent Chad and the Republic of Congo. And for instance, oil exports under the policy accounted for 99.7% of Nigeria's AGOA exports to the United States in 2019. And according to the statistics, oil and gas products valued at $3.12 billion were exported to the U.S. under the policy in 2019. And however, South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Lesotho, Ghana, and Madagascar are amongst the leading non-oil AGOA exporters. Kenya, Ethiopia, and Madagascar dominate the apparel sector. And following the coronavirus induced crash in oil prices earlier this year and declining demands, Nigeria has been struggling to sell its crude oil cargoes. And prior to the lockdowns and collapse in crude oil demands caused by the coronavirus crisis, the production of the U.S. shale oil had led to a significant reduction in the exportation of Nigeria crude oil. The United States import of Nigeria's crude oil plunges by 63% in the first quarter of this year compared to the last quarter of 2019. And data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration showed that the country imported 5.53 million barrels of crude oil from Nigeria in the first quarter of 2020, down from 15 million barrels in the fourth quarter of 2019. All right, we're going on another break right now. When we come back from this short break, we'll get news from the world of sports. Stay with us.
Welcome to News Desk on Celebration TV. I am Comfort James.
And I'm Femi Mark.
And the news making the rounds.
Please stay with us as we bring you details. Watch robust, objective, analytical, informative, educative, entertaining and inspiring news on Celebration TV News Desk. Every weekday, 11 a.m. GMT+1, that is 11 a.m. GMT+1 on Mondays through Fridays.
You are welcome to Sports Corner. I am Ivan Agafe.
Celebration TV News Desk, the whole truth. Has come for the gathering of sons to get recharged and revitalized.
The church that cannot be despised is a church of testimonies.
An outburst of revival.
There's a revival!
Let's take it.
International Ministers Conference October edition.
Testimonies are the trademark of God's mandate.
Apostle Johnson and Dr. Lizzie Suleiman, 28th through 30th October 2020. Ministers without blemish. Time 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. GMT+1. Happening live at the International Worship Center, Omega Fire Ministries, Kilometer 132, Benin, Okene, Abuja Expressway, Auchi, Edo State, Nigeria. For inquiries, please call Ministers without blemish. Prepare for your next level.
Welcome to News Desk on Celebration TV. I am Comfort James.
And I'm Femi Mark.
And the news making the rounds.
Please stay with us as we bring you details. Watch robust, objective, analytical, informative, educative, entertaining and inspiring news on Celebration TV News Desk. Every weekday, 11 a.m. GMT+1, that is 11 a.m. GMT+1 on Mondays through Fridays.
You are welcome to Sports Corner. I am Ivan Agafe.
Celebration TV News Desk, the whole truth.
Welcome back now. News from the world of sports. FIFA ranking, Eagles dropped 3 places, now 32nd. The Super Eagles have dropped 3 places and are now ranked 32nd in the world in the latest FIFA ranking released on Wednesday by the World Football Body. They also lost their position as the 3rd ranked team in Africa to Algeria, dropping to 4th position. The Eagles had earlier been ranked 29th in the September ranking, which was released after a 6-month break due to COVID-19. But they dropped in the ranking after losing 1-0 to Algeria and holding Tunisia 1-1 in 2 friendlies played in Austria earlier this month. And the top 5 nations remain unchanged, with Belgium, France, Brazil, England and Portugal ranking 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th respectively. And Senegal are still the highest ranked team in Africa, dropping 1 place to 21st, while Tunisia are 2nd unchanged at 26th. Algeria moved up 5 positions to the 30th position to be ranked 3rd in Africa, while Morocco are now ranked 39th position in the world and 5th in Africa, and moving up 4 places in the world ranking. And in another sports news, and lastly on the news desk today, ENQUIRY scores as Leicester begins Europa campaign with a 3-0 over Zoya. James Maddison, Harvey Barnes and Kelechi Iheanacho all scored as Leicester City began their Europa League campaign with a routine 3-0 win over Zoya Luhansk. In their first meeting with Ukrainian opposition, Leicester had to withstand a sharp start from their Group G rivals at the King Power Stadium on Thursday. And however, Madison's 29th-minute effort put Brendan Rodgers' side ahead, with Barnes, who had played a crucial role in the opener, doubling the lead on the stroke of half-time. And Wesley Fofana missed a chance to make matters even more comfortable, though the points were wrapped up when Iheanacho slotted in a low finish. Vidislav Kabej should have capped a dominant start from Zoya with an opener in the 22nd minute, only for the forward to fail to beat Kasper Schmeichel for closer range. And Madison saw a goal rightly disallowed for offside from the counter-attacking move that followed, but he broke the deadlock moment later. And that's the side of the news for us today on Celebration Television News Desk. If you're just joining us, here is a recap of the news making the rounds. Restructure UN Security Council, says Oyedepo. Algeria's government protesters mobilize ahead of constitutional referendum. Presidential debate, Trump and Biden roll over COVID, climate and racism. Dangote demands total ban on tomato importation. And lastly, FIFA ranking, Eagles drop 3 places, now 32nd. And today on the photo of the day, we see a photo there that the photo shows a group of people holding hands, and this tells us that in every society, unity is what we need to stand and move forward together. You can tell us your views on the photo of the day today as you talk to us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are Celebration TV. On Instagram, we are My Celebration TV. On Twitter, we are at My Celebration TV, and on YouTube, it is Celebration TV. And don't you forget that the continuous transformation of our society is a collective responsibility of all. No matter the office you hold, as a nation's president, a thought leader, an opinion molder, a character builder, a professional, or as a person pursuing passion, you have a duty to give your all to making the society a better place for us and the generations to come. So, do your best and do well to play your part, and do it with all diligence. My name is Belly Squetta. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Welcome to News Desk on Celebration TV. I am Comfort James.
And I'm Femi Mark.
And the news making the rounds. Please stay with us as we bring you details. Watch robust, objective, analytical, informative, educative, entertaining and inspiring news on Celebration TV News Desk.
Every weekday, 11 a.m. GMT plus 1. That is 11 a.m. GMT plus 1 on Mondays through Fridays.
You are welcome to Sports Corner. I am Ivan Agafe.
Celebration TV News Desk. The whole truth.